narrowly focus now on an aspect of aquaculture that we're obviously passionate about here at Oxygen Solutions, and that being oxygen. And Labardo, I'm coming to you shortly, but I want to stick with Matt and Tim for just 1 second. How important is oxygen to your operations or those of your clients? And then I guess a follow-up question to that is, presuming that it's very important, what are the most important criteria or considerations that you think of when it comes to oxygen supply?
Well, it's crucial. I mean, it's not even a question. Without it, our fish die, period. So, and also the consistency of the oxygen into the browse systems, or specifically the culture tanks, is important. The fish are much happier when you have a nice constant level of oxygen. Jumping all over the map, they get stressed, and as they get stressed, we found that they consume oxygen at exponential rate. So yeah, it's life or death.
Yeah, and for the net pen operators, it's a little bit of a different story. I mean, all of the net pen operations companies, they obviously have hatcheries and land-based operations to start with. So in that case, it's just as Tim explained, it's absolutely crucial. Efficient oxygen diffusion and reliable oxygen generation, those are critical to their operations. When it comes to net pens, it's a little bit more early stage. Only about half of our customers, maybe a little less than half of our customers, are actively supplementing their net pen operations with oxygen through pure oxygen generation and delivery. There are, I guess you'd argue that most of them are supplementing oxygen, indirectly by using aeration systems, which are clearly not designed for oxygen transfer. But overall, it's an emerging tool for net pen operators. And as I said, there are some that are clearly leading the way as far as operators go, and they've put the investment in. I think there's some pretty innovative companies out there. They've been at it for a few years now, and we've been working with them to supply equipment and engineering support, and the results are staggering in some cases. Back to those numbers that I mentioned earlier, 10% faster to harvest and 20% bigger fish at harvest. Return on investments of, sometimes as little as 6 months for a major capital expense. Again, that's just unheard of in many cases. So it's earlier stage. I wouldn't say it's the customers that are convinced now it's crucial. They can't live without it. And so the most important thing there is there's two aspects. One, they've clearly seen that advanced diffusion systems like ultrafine bubbles or nanobubbles, they've seen the results. They see that there's clearly a benefit to using those systems over traditional. We've participated with a number of customers who have done head-to-head trials with conventional technologies versus nanobubbles or ultrafine bubbles, and the ultrafine bubbles have come out ahead. They've delivered those returns. So if diffusion efficiency is crucial to the ones that have committed to using oxygen, but then on top of that is diffusion. Once you move past that into generation, reliable generation is critical. And then when you start talking about floating closed containment situations, which are essentially the same as, very, very similar to what Tim's dealing with in land-based, then it becomes critical. There's, most of our customers are at, on the one hand, they're saying, okay, what's the best system? Where should we spec it out to be? But then the very next question is, how do we make sure this system never goes down? And so to be able to deliver that, that manufactured solution that has a proven track record of 99% plus uptime, that becomes a critical part of the conversation, a critical part of the operation for the customer. Again, when you start to realize that net pen operations are rarely easily accessed. I mean, it's routine. It's routine for us to have to travel 5 hours and use multiple modes of transportation just to get to the farm. So, it's not as simple as, I've got to call the service tech and I'll be here in an hour. And then, so all that sort of stuff speaks to reliable, really bulletproof systems, which is, back to, the effort that you guys put in at OSI.
And on that note as well, the land-based systems, they've always had a liquid oxygen set up as a backup. Actually, they've been relying on it for years, and now that OSI has become much more reliable, their equipment, because when I started in the industry, there was, it was expensive and difficult to maintain, but really that's because we're dealing with farmers, and farmers don't like to spend the money. It seems like they'd rather react. So now that the oxygen generators are much more reliable, I'm seeing them on most land-based farms as the main supply of oxygen, and the LOX is just a backup.
Well, let's get into talking about those machines and that equipment. And so let's bring in Labardo now. Labardo, welcome. Thank you for being here. When we talk about oxygen generation or oxygen concentration equipment, what are some of the advancements in oxygen generation that you're excited about?
In oxygen generation, I think one of the absorption in general, it's the development of new materials to improve the oxygen production and the efficiency of the oxygen generators. When we have new materials, then that are more efficient to capture the nitrogen and purify the oxygen, we will be able to actually improve or reduce even more the energy consumption of our machines. We've been working on that, and so far in the last 1.5 years, we've been able to reduce the power consumption of our machines by 20-25%. Apart from that, as Matt mentioned, reliability is one of our main concerns, because we have customers that they rely completely on our system, and that's what we try to do, is to always have a very reliable system that can give the customer the peace that they need. Now we've been trying with the net pen operations, and I think so far, Matt can correct me, that we've been successful. We have a set of machines in net pen operations, and I think so far they've been working really good. We've been working on the troubleshooting and the integration of the machine. That's also a big part of our machines, is that of our culture is to be the customer to be able to integrate the machine to their control system, so they can monitor, they can perform data analytics, and they can basically do a much better assessment of the whole operation.
Great, thank you, Labardo. Now, a question for you, Labardo, as well. How does Ozone complement an oxygen generation system in aquaculture?
In the RAS technology, ozone is used to purify the water before it goes back to the ponds. So the ozone, usually the owner of the farm, they have to buy the oxygen generator from one supplier and the ozone generator from another supplier. Now what we are trying at OSI is to sell the whole package, a combined solution that has the oxygen generator and the ozone generation. So part of the idea is that part of the oxygen will be sent to the ozone generator, and the other part will be sent to the ponds to oxygenate the water.
Great.
Crucial in RAS systems, that ozone generation. One of the big problems in the RAS systems is the off flavor that you get, and ozone is a key component of keeping with Matt, like you said, the water quality is a huge component, but ozone is one of the key components to bring down that Josman level in the systems.
Mm-hmm.